Just a heads up, this is going to be kind of a long video, 20 minutes. Feel free to skip ahead to other sections. I have timestamps below in the description. If you're already familiar with what I'm talking about, just feel free to go to the next one. Hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to a new video series about how to get into the programming of my projects and get into the code, get into the programming. Obviously, if you just want to use the apps that I've made, you don't need to do this kind of thing. Just go to the website, use the apps, enjoy your day. It's much easier. This is for people that want to get into the code and maybe understand how it's organized, understand how the architecture, how it's put together, how to make changes, how to contribute code, make a pull request, etc. So there's a lot to talk about with all of these things, and I haven't really ever tried to do this. But I feel like I'm going to have to do a bunch of separate videos because yeah, there's many different aspects to all of this. This video is just going to be getting the project set up. So installing it on your machine, installing the dependencies, running it, and just making some random change and seeing it live so that you can sort of start playing around. This is something that I'm going to use Hyperdraft as an example because there's a lot of people that ask me about, just had questions about how it's organized and stuff. So I'm using Hyperdraft as an example, but whatever I'm going to talk about today applies to everything that I've made. They're all organized exactly the same way. If you understand one project that I've built, you understand all of them. Literally, like all 90 repositories on my GitHub, they're all following the same logic. And let's just get into it. So there are going to be 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to start with step 0, which is sort of like do this before you do anything else, otherwise nothing is going to work in this project or perhaps any programming project anywhere, which is install node.js on your system, or make sure that it's installed. You can just check, you can open your terminal and you can type in node-v, and if you have Node installed already, it'll tell you the version number. In my case, I have version 14.11.0. If you don't have that, if that command doesn't work, or if you're on like a really old version or something, consider going to nodejs.org/download, I think. And there's installers for each operating system. I'm not going to talk about how to do this, but it's basically like you download this thing, run the installer, it sort of takes care of everything. You may need to restart your computer, I don't remember. And then you have Node on your machine, as well as npm, which is one might call Node Package Manager. And those are the kind of 2 things that you need in order to do anything in the rest of this video. So make sure you have that done. Again, I said I have version 14.11, and everything seems to work for me. If you have something else, it might not work for you. It shouldn't be that different, I think, but if you run into problems, like your Node version may be an issue. Yeah, so that's step 0. Hopefully that's not too difficult to do. Step 1, open the project directory inside your terminal. So let's get the project directory from the repo, download it to the machine, and open it in the terminal. Different ways to do that. I'm going to go to the website here, hyperdraft.rosano.ca, or whichever other project website. And under the section for open source here, there's a link to the repo. So again, different ways to make all of this happen. You can also do like a git clone if you really like Git, but I'm just going to talk about a more simple way. So under code, it says download zip. So I'm going to download the zip file, and I'm going to move that zip file to the desktop so that we can all see it. And so here's the zip file with the code for the app. Open the zip file, which will extract it to a folder, and that's the folder that you need to open in your terminal. Again, different ways to do this. If you're more comfortable just navigating through the terminal, go do that. I might just like drag and drop it onto my terminal app icon, and now you can see I'm in Hyperdraft Master, which is where we need to be. So that's step 1. open the folder in your terminal because you need to be able to run commands from this folder. I'm just going to clean up here, and I'm going to just visually look at the folder, and also, yeah, let's open up the file. Let's open it up in the text editor. Okay, so again, step one, open the project folder in the terminal. Step two, run the setup command. Most projects, open source projects, you have to do some kind of npm install thing to install dependencies. This is basically going to do the same thing, but it's also going to do other stuff that you need to do to get set up. And so rather than giving you extra steps, just run this one command. But before I run it, actually no, while I'll run it, because it's going to take a while. So the command is npm run setup. And we're going to hit enter. And what is this going to do? This is going to run npm install, which is very normal, but it's going to run it in a way that doesn't muck with our package.json file, because I'm making use of white space and this weird like commenting heading stuff, and it'll all get jumbled up or canceled out if you don't say stop touching my package.json file. So that's the first thing that it does. It will also, sometimes when you do npm install, it creates a package-lock.json, which can be it can cause problems. So it deletes that file from the project directory if it's there. And the third thing that it does is it copies this env sample, which you might notice sometime soon. It copies env sample to .env. Because even though it's like a JavaScript project, it makes extensive use of environment variables, or at least the organization of keys and special constants and stuff, organizing all of that into this environment variables file. So it's very important to make sure that's there, and you can see here it now has copied that out to a template. So now you sort of have everything you need. You've installed the dependencies and copied the environment file, and all you had to do is just run that one command, npm run setup. And that's basically step two. So now we're going to run the project and try and make changes. So before I do that, I'm just going to explain that there's actually two systems happening at the same time in terms of running this project. I'm going to call them System B and System A, and I'll explain what the difference is later. So we're just going to run two commands for each of the one command for each of these systems, and you're going to need to do that in different windows or tabs of your terminal. So I'm going to start here in my terminal, and I'm going to run the command. This is step 3, by the way. So now we're in step 3. Run the command for system B, okay, which is npm run watch. And I'm just going to open another tab here for myself, thinking ahead. npm run watch is going to take the svelte files and slurp them all together and spit out something that the browser can understand, because the project is written in a way that is not natively understood by the browser. So we need to do this compiling step. So go through the project, get everything, put it all together, create a JS file. And it takes a little bit longer on the first try, but after that, if you're just making changes, it happens a bit quicker. This setup, by the way, is very kind of 2019. It's like, it's relative, I mean, relative to today's standard, it might be a bit slow. So I'm hoping to change this to the more fancier stuff at some point, but I just haven't had time to get there. This works for me. It's been working for like 2 years. It doesn't break. So I'm going to keep using it for now, but hopefully eventually we'll change to something faster. So that's system B, step 3. And now we're going to do step 4, which is system A. Just because we did the system B thing doesn't mean we can actually access the app or the project in the browser, right? It's just compiling and making files. It has nothing to do with the actual access. There's no server in system B, which is why we're going to use system A. So step 4, we're going to run the command for system A, which is npm start. Okay, and that's going to run a node server, a node.js server, open up port 3000 so that we can go there in the browser. We can go to localhost colon 3000 in the browser, and now we can access our locally running version of the project. So that's it, 4 steps. So open the project directory in a terminal so that you can run the commands from that directory. Step 2 is run the setup command. If it's your first time, you don't have to do this every time, obviously, just when you first install, first download. Step 3 is to run the command for system B, which is rollup, svelte, spitting out JavaScript, compiling, etc. And step 4 is to run the command for system A, which is the server, allowing us to access the website for the project and also the app inside a browser. Okay, so that's basically getting set up. Let's try to make some changes. When I'm going to do these changes, I'm just going to be very kind of, let's just put whatever in here and save it. But practically speaking, if you're ever making a legitimate change to the project, you always want to write tests first. Like, I never make changes without writing tests. And I'm not going to talk about tests at all in this video. I'm going to make another video for that. But just to be aware, like, I never do things this way. This is just showing the workflow of like making a change, seeing the result in the browser. Again, we're using 2 different systems here, system A and system B. When you make changes, the way that the changes reveal themselves are going to be different based on which system you're using. So I'm going to start by making changes in system A, and we'll see how that works. And then we're going to make changes in system B, and we'll see how that works. So system A is going to be files like EJS files, which is like a templating language that uses JavaScript, or it could be Markdown files, or it could be CSS files. Okay, so these 3 kinds of files fall under system A, which means that it's the node server that's going to watch them and reload the page if they've changed. So here, for example, I am on this page for the vitrine, or the home page. I call it vitrine in all of the projects. I'm just going to write some text here, blah, 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 and I'm going to save. And when I hit save, it reloads the page, and there's blah, blah, blah. So I didn't have to do any. I just made the change and saved, and we saw the result. Let's undo that. I'm going to do this also on the guide. Here, this is actually coming out of a Markdown document, which is here. So again, I'm going to make the same change, blah, 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 hit save. We can see the change immediately, and it's pretty straightforward. Also in CSS files, here's the CSS file for the guide. And I'm going to say everything has a background of red, and hit save, and then it implements immediately. So these are all system A changes. It's very straightforward. You just make the change and you see it pretty much instantly. System B changes are a little bit more complicated. I'm going to open up the system B command process here so you can see what's going on. Let's go to the app, the Svelte app. So I'm just going to make some notes here. Bravo and Charlie. And okay, so here's the app, the writing interface, and I can see here I have some, let's make some change to the writing interface. This is under open, write, main. So here's a Svelte file. You can see there's JavaScript in here, there is some HTML at the bottom, and sometimes there's also CSS at the bottom, but in this case we're just using a separate file. So what I'm going to do is go to the top somewhere and just, again, write some random text, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to hit save. And now watch what happens in the process, in the system B process. So roll up, notice the change. It's rebuilding the final JavaScript file. Took a few seconds. And now when we go to the browser, it already reloaded and we can see our change. So let's undo that. And you can see save, compile, and then after a few seconds, reload the page. Okay, That's system B. So you can see how it kind of goes through a different set of pipes. But that's basically it in terms of making changes and seeing the result. There are other changes that you can make where you will not see the result. And there's kind of many different versions of that. Generally, what you can do is just restart the process. So you can do this kind of thing, like just Control C to stop the command, and then run the command again. And I can do that with system A or system B. Generally, if you just do those things, restart the process, you should be able to see your change. I'm just going to go over one case which is kind of less obvious and it really should work a different way, which is the localization files. In both system A and system B, it's the same type of file. They're I18N or internationalization .en.yml. Okay, these are localization files that hold all of the language. In all throughout the project, there's never any kind of language. You don't actually write the text for a button or for a paragraph or something directly in the interface, with the exception of markdown documents. But everything else is like, we try to use localized string symbols, like this long kind of stuff here. So again, I'm going to go through some changes in system A and system B and just show the difference. So turn your text notes into a website on the vitrine. So where is that? That's in vitrine, internationalization, English. Okay. So turn your notes into a website, blah, blah, blah. I save, and nothing happens because there's nothing watching that file to to update the browser. So you close the process for system A and you start it again, and then you should be able to see your change. Turn your notes into a website, blah, 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 and we're just going to undo that. That's basically how it works for system A. For system B, it's a little bit different. So let's go to the app, and here you can see filter or create in the search box here. This is a localized string that's in right internationalization English, and you can see again, if I make some change here, blah, 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 and I save, rollup will not notice the change. What you can do instead of restarting the process, you can actually just save the svelte file. So that sort of wakes up and it goes like, hey, something changed, and then it sort of goes through everything. And now you can see filter, create, blah, blah, blah. So that's basically system B. Ideally, the localization files should be watched and they should cause a reload, but it's just something that's very complicated and there are other things that have been more important for me to focus on, so haven't gotten there yet. But pull requests welcome on GitHub for that kind of thing. If you feel like you can contribute to that, that would be amazing. This would be something that applies to like 5 different projects, and I'll maybe make a link to the description, a link in the description to like where you could try to make that change if you were inclined. So again, just to reiterate, like don't make changes like this without writing tests, and I'm not going to talk about tests in this video. I'm going to do another one for that, but I just wanted to give an idea here of how to download the project, set it up, get it running, make a change so that you can sort of toy around, poke around, and see how it works and everything. I'm going to make some other videos to go into things like folder organization and tests and whatever else that might be relevant. But I think we're getting kind of long here, 20 minutes, geez. Okay, so yeah, if you're still here, thanks for sticking around, and hope to see you in the next video. Ciao.